ॐ श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Two portions of the Veda to connect with the relative and absolute goals of life. The relative goals have to do with achieving something which one thinks one lacks. And what is that? Whatever it might be. And that comes under what is called the Purusharthas of Dharma, Artha, and Kama. So this Purusharthatrayam is the subject matter of the first portion of the Veda. And the Veda is what? Flawless. Flawless Veda. And this flawless Veda flawlessly guides us to the objects of desire. Why? Because we are not ready to give them up. That's why. If we were ready to give them up, then we don't need first portion of Veda at all. We just need Vedanta, then we would be in a very difficult situation because we can't call it Vedanta because it's not the end. It is the beginning, it is the end, it is the middle, everything. And so, because of that reason, no, just kidding. So, so that's why there is the Veda, the first portion of the Veda, and what else? Vedanta, end of the Veda. This itself is a very peculiar distinction. Because when you're reading a book, do you say, what are you doing? I'm reading the book along with its last chapter. Does anybody talk like that? No. If you start talking like that, we will, they will think you're a special person. Who is a special person? No? The one who requires a specialist. Okay. So nobody talks like this. I'm reading the book along with the last chapter. Who will tell that? No one on the earth. Okay. But here we say Veda plus Vedantaha. We make it plural also. Sarve Vedantaha. What's wrong with us? These Vedantins have to somehow show off all the time. They have to be different. They have to stick out and show them that they are special. Not like that, because the takers for the first portion of the Veda and the second portion of the Veda, the audience are different. Audience is very different. In the first portion of the Veda, they want what? The people who are attracted to the first portion of the Veda want swimming lessons. Swimming lessons? I need Veda for swimming lessons. Yes, I do. Why? Swimming lessons where? In the ocean of samsara. In the ocean of samsara, which works best to stay afloat, so that every wave that comes, I don't go glub, glub, glub. Here's a wave of sorrow. Glub, glub, glub. Here is a wave of conflict. Glub, glub, glub. So that I have to stay afloat, because the samsara is interesting. It's got so many things I want. Oh, all of them are broken like that china cup, which was already broken when it was purchased. How? Drishtya. With the drishti of wisdom. Vidwan drishtya, it was already broken because everything is finite. So Here it's not like that. The samsara, I don't recognize that it's already broken. And for the one that is still trying to find the flawlessness of samsara, there is still a lot samsara has to offer, because there are desires. The desires exert a force. What is the desire? To be flawless. And that desire drives us to achieve something or the other, because in my heart, what do I know? Wrongly, but I know I am not flawless. So, in order to become flawless, I keep doing this, that, or the other. And samsara, therefore, has best described by Pujya Swamiji as what? A life of becoming mad. That's all it is. No other becoming is possible. Only thing you can become is mad, because in the finite waters, you're searching for the infinite. The infinite has nothing to do with the finite and is never there. And so, therefore, what? It is never found. Not a possibility at all. And so, therefore, this futile quest is what drives us to the first portion of the Veda, in the hope of trying to stay afloat in samsara. Not quite ready to leave it, because it has some things. For me, what does samsara have? Restaurants. Yeah, nice. Smacking the lips. Yeah, it has restaurants, all kinds of cuisines. Vietnamese cuisine, and what else? Mexican cuisine, Italian food. What else is there? Thai food, Chinese food, and not just Indian food, North Indian food, South Indian food, Gujarati thali. It's just endless. And all for what? 3 inches. 3 inches where? Tongue. Yeah. You measure the longest tongue, and I mean it literally, not figuratively. Long tongue means what? Somebody who's carrying tails, okay? Gossiper is called long tongued. No, but I'm talking literally. It's the longest tongue according to the Guinness Book of World Records is 3.5 inches. Okay. So 3.5 inches long tongue, and then that's all. The restaurants is for just 3 inches of rasana, jihva. Because once you swallow, you may as well be on what? Feeding tube. Yeah, no taste, nothing. All the restaurants are for just this 3 inch long tongue. Think about it. So samsara is very, very attractive, because it tells, ehi, come, aswa, sit, what's the hurry? Where are you going? Sit down. No, you are finite. I don't want to be around you too much. No, don't worry. Finite plus finite will become infinite. Let me tell you. It speaks convincingly enough so that I come under the spell. I come under the spell, and then when I am caught by some, I think I'm going to catch samsara and milk it, press it, like pressing olives to get olive oil. I'll press it and eke something out of it. I'll milk samsara, but samsara ends up milking me and pressing me. This is what happens. And so, therefore, the first portion of the Veda makes you see that the three Purusharthas, which are in the form of what? Dharmartha Kamaha, these Purusharthas, Dharma means the entitlement to a righteous life. Why do you call it entitlement? Because people will say Dharma is not a Purushartha. It is not something I want. Who said Dharma is what I want? I'm not particularly interested in being good. I'm not particularly excited about that. Okay, then what do you want? I want other people to be dharmic towards me. That's why it's the first Purushartha. First Purushartha, because I want other people to be nice to me. When I go, they should open the door. When I drop something, they should say, oh, here, oops, and then pick it up for me. I don't want to be lied to. I don't want to be defrauded. I don't want to be cheated. And the only way to enforce that is how? I have to be, whether I like it or not, do the same to others as they should do to me. Dharma becomes the first Purushartha, because this is how we have to live in the world. And living in the world, I'm not the only one. There are people everywhere. And in places like India, they're sitting on top of each other's lap at every minute of every day. And then artha, some kind of a security, bank balance. People in my life, they also count as security. I bank on them. You see, we use the words also like that. Don't let me down, I'm banking on you. Counting on you means banking on you. Counting also again money. See, we talk about people in this money metaphor because there is some way in which we gain security from accumulating things, people, money, etc. We gain this idea of security, which is again a problem. Why? Because the if you are searching for security, what is the basic premise? I am insecure. I'm not secure, because if I'm secure, what will I be searching for? Nothing. I won't be searching for security. So this premise is also wrong. And so therefore, the artha, so the pursuit of security, and then some other things to make life go by in an interesting way. The subject object fusion with the objects of delight is called kamaha. The objects are too many, and each one is more attractive than the other. And then what can I do? It's not my fault. The eyes see, the ears hear, and the ears take me away, the eyes take me away. And so these three Purusharthas, if one is told, they're not going to lead you anywhere, please drop them. Come to the ashram. And the only Purushartha you need is what? The fourth one. What is that called? Moksha. Then what will happen? All the ashrams will have to close down. The swamis will be unemployed. Yeah. Nobody is ready to do that. Nobody even believes that is possible. And they, in fact, they will turn around and tell that same Swami, I saw you enjoying a 5-course meal today. Yeah. And you who are telling, don't go after restaurants, 3-inch tongue, etc. What happened to all that? You are enjoying a nice car ride. You are enjoying a 5-course meal. And here you tell me, just go for moksha. This is what will happen. The Veda knows that. That's why two different kinds of audiences, two different portions. First portion and the last portion. The first portion is for people who cannot give up all this because the conviction is not there, or the heart is not ready, or the mind is unprepared or not fully prepared. They too can aspire for the fourth Purushartha and get ready for that gradually. It's like taking a dip in the Ganga. You put one toe. Toe goes in, toe comes out. I think tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow again, toe goes in, toe comes out. No, I think day after tomorrow. Day after tomorrow, toe goes in. By that time, you have gained a little more brave, courage. So the whole foot goes in, you just splash around. Oh, this is nice. Okay, enough for today. Come out. Finally, lastly, let's say on the last day when you're ready to leave Rishikesh, I have to do this before I go. I have to take a dip. Then the whole body goes in and then comes out. Just like that, this whole journey is. So for those who want a little toe in this, for them, the the three Purusharthas are not negated. They are streamlined and converted into prayer. That's what the first portion of the Veda does. It converts everything into prayer. Oh, you want to secure life? Yes. What do you want to make it secure? I want money. Okay. Lakshmi, Dhana Lakshmi. Everything is Lakshmi, really. All the pursuits are feminine. There is no place for mankind in the Shastra. Really. Think about it. It's like, oh, what do you want? You want money. Money is a form of Lakshmi, Dhana Lakshmi. No, no, I want power over people. I should walk into the room and everybody should listen to me. Strange desire, but it's there. It has to be acknowledged. Aishwarya Lakshmi. No, I'm a foodie. I like lots of food. Dhanya Lakshmi. And then what else? I want a lot of wealth, different kinds of wealth. Sampat Lakshmi. I want a wonderful, peaceful married life. Another that she also is the Shanta Lakshmi. She's also in the form of Shanti. So, like this, 8 forms of Lakshmi are worshipped. Everything is Lakshmi, Lakshmi. And if you say, I don't want Lakshmi, what do you want? Saraswati. No other choice. Saraswati helps you enjoy Lakshmi better. Yeah. Because Lakshmi can make you buy a book. Why? Because you have the resources. But without Saraswati's blessings, it will be gathering dust on the shelf. Right? Saraswati's blessings makes you read it and understand it, especially if it is in Sanskritam. Definitely, over time, Saraswati's blessings are needed. And so, like this, the first 3 Purusharthas are not negated. There is a, what should I say, in India, we have this goods train, which has no priority because the passenger trains have priority and the goods trains, they stop wherever they want, and wherever they don't want also, they have to stop. But then slowly they will also reach the destination. 5-hour journey is made in 15 hours, but it will still reach because it will stop everywhere. Because the other trains have priority carrying passengers. The goods can come a little later. They don't have priority because people are more important. They have to go to places. It might be urgent. And so the people are prioritized. And so therefore, this is a very beautiful system where the moksha goods train, the first 3 portions of the Veda, the first 3 Purusharthas, which are covered by the first portion of the Veda, you slowly get ready while fulfilling your desires. There is no pressure to leave anything, anybody, anytime soon. You don't need to leave. You don't need to take sannyasa. You have to have the attitude of a sannyasin. And when will that come? It will come. The longer you stay in samsara, the more you feel like leaving it. It will come. Don't worry. And so this is the Veda recognizes the human desires. The Veda recognizes the human limitations. And therefore, the first portion of the Veda, the audience is who? The ones who seek a niche in samsara with a little bit of validation and a lot of acceptance, etc. They are put on a diet of prayer. Everything is a yajna. You want money, do a yajna. You want health, do another yajna. You want peace of mind, do one yajna. There is even one yajna for people who are fighting amongst one another. The last mandala, the last shloka of the Rig Veda. Aikyamata Sukta it is called. And then you keep chanting that. It has 8 lines. And then if the people are fighting at home, if you don't even have the wherewithal to do yajna, chant this 8 times every day. Really, it helps. People stop fighting. But then when you stop chanting, they will start fighting again. Plavahyete adrida yajna rupaha. Ashtadashoktam avaram yeshu karma. Mundakopanishad. The rafts made of this kind of prayer, etc., even though they give a certain mental satisfaction and they give the phala, they are plavaha. Plava means what? That which is a raft, a makeshift boat made of logs of wood called yajna. This yajna, that yajna, they become logs of wood. And they are tied with shraddha, the trust that something will happen. And then it's in a raging ocean of samsara. Adridaha, plavaha means they are only one thing which is definite about them is what? They are sure to capsize. Capsize means turn upside down. Why? Because they are comprised, they are composed of 18 factors. All of them are action based and all of them are finite. 18 factors, the couple doing the yajna, man and woman. And then that's two. And then what are the other 16? Four, 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 four. Priests of each Veda. 16 priests. And then the husband and wife make 18. So how much can you chant? Finite. How much dakshina can you give? Finite. And how much shraddha can you have? Finite. How many actions can you do? Finite. Finite plus finite plus finite plus finite plus finite. I have to say it 18 times now, you can imagine. So is equal to what? Infinite? Finite. Therefore, adridaha yajnarupaha. But for the time being, the Veda accepts, the first portion of the Veda accepts. So then what's the point of going through the first portion of the Veda? Because it grows one up gradually. It grows one up to study Vedanta because I have to deal with a series of disappointments in life. Samsara, very attractive, but it's like the story of the grapes and the fox. You know the story of the fox and the grapes? Grapes and the fox? Something like that, yeah. Grapes, the farmer is also clever. The grapes are on a vine, just out of reach of the fox. Fox looks. Fox loves this grape, licks its lips, jumps, 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 jumps. And then what? Gets exhausted. Gets completely exhausted. Each jumping is an action. One jump, education. Another jump, job. Third jump, job. First one did not work out, that's why. Fourth jump, fifth jump, sixth jump, seventh jump, marriage, 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 marriage. Eighth jump, ninth jump, 10th jump, children, children, children. And then after that, 11th jump, 12th jump, retirement, retirement, go places, do this, do that. 13th jump comes to a very wise, foxy conclusion. What is the foxy conclusion? Grapes are sour. It's a wise fox, Vidwan fox. Yes. This is a very nice fairy tale. Grapes are sour. We laugh at the fox, but actually the fox is a very wise fox. Maybe the grapes are sweet, but really speaking, the samsara grapes, adridaha, sour. Everything ends up broken, everything ends up finite. That which is finite is sweet only for a bit before it turns to sour. Everything sours. You see, every relationship sours. If it is sweet right now, enjoy it, because in the future, what's going to happen? Sour. Everything sours sooner or later. And the ones who have understood this can graduate to the next portion, the last portion of the Veda, called Vedanam Antaha, Upanishads. Upanishad is the last portion of the Veda. The root verb is Shadlr. Shad has three meanings: to destroy. To destroy is one meaning, and destroy, then what else? Then Visharati. So many things we destroy, but it comes back. It's back like a weed. You destroy, then it comes back. The another meaning of the root verb shad is unmulayati, uproots. So when the root cause of that which you destroyed is also destroyed, it destroys along with the root, means there is no possibility of coming back. And then gamayati, takes, leads, nayati. Where does it lead? It leads back to yourself, and that yourself is Brahman. The name for yourself in Sanskrit is Atma, Brahman. They are synonyms. There is no Atma without being Brahman. It leads you back to yourself, it walks you back to yourself. Why? Because one is lost. One is lost in the forest of raga and dvesha, strong preferences and prejudices, likes and dislikes, and one is led back through this thicket of forest. One is led back where? To the safety of one's home, which is Om. It's led back repeatedly. And so until one learns to stay there, that is the Upanishad. And that too, the first portion is Veda, is again God given, flawless, revealed. And the second portion is also what? Revealed and flawless. And why is it flawless? Well, the first portion is flawless because it has the ability to make you mature enough for this knowledge. The second portion is flawless because it shows you that you are the seeker, you are the sought, you are the flawless person that you seek to be. That is why it is flawless. Therefore, it is flawless, totally flawless, and that is how the the teaching here works. And these two portions are separated because, as I said, the audience is different. The first portion of the Veda has the audience trying to get swimming lessons in samsara. The second portion of the Veda appeals to those who want to not worry about the ocean of samsara, but they want to see samsara as a notion. So from ocean to notion, you can see how what a big jump it is, a very big jump. That the problems with me and with the Jagat and with Ishvara are what? Notional, not oceanic, but notional. This is the understanding, and this is what has to be understood, and that is why the second portion is there for those who are ready. The audience is different. The subject matter is also different. The subject matter in the first portion is what? Action based. It's not enough to have the knowledge of how to make dosa. Imagine, I know how to make. I have seen the video. Does that satisfy your hunger? Yeah, unless you eat the batter, then then it's a different thing. Straight away you eat the batter, maybe there is some hope, but then you can't just make do with a recipe. The recipe has to be converted to action, and then the result of action you imbibe, and that is what satisfies the hunger. So the first portion of the Veda is action based. The hungry person is the one who says, I am invalidated, non accepted, not unacceptable to myself, unloved, alone, and bereft. This is the person. So for that person, all these upayas are given. And the second portion of the Veda appeals to one who is what? Who is not interested in doing, because by doing, one has understood what is the doing? One's undoing. That's all. One has understood that. It's like the kitten playing with a ball of wool. You leave it with a ball of wool to get your camera because it's so cute. Let me take some photos. It is batting it back and forth. Let me take some cute pictures and post it on the social media. You go out of the room to get your phone. When you come back, there's a mewing sound, and the kitten has become one with the ball of wool, has attained oneness. Yeah. It has got completely entangled in the ball of wool. And how? Why? Because it thought it's just a plaything. Let me bat it. And then before that, you can't. Where is the kitten? You don't know. Where is the ball of wool? You don't know. Similarly, the person in samsara is like the kitten in the beginning. Let me just bat this object of delight. How delightful, how nice. I am the one here. Let me do this. And then before one knows, one is completely entangled in that. So samsara can give you only one thing. What is that one thing? Headache, nothing else. A big, major headache it can give you, a migraine that you wish was somebody else's grain. Why is it my grain? You'll be asking. Samsara can only give you that. So the second portion of the Veda makes you see so the audience is different, the subject matter is action. The second portion of the Veda, the subject matter is what? Knowledge. Why? By action, I have become like the kitten, the aforementioned kitten. The more I try to unentangle myself, what is happening? I'm more stuck, more entangled. Same thing happens. You even, you just go, you're just here, and you just say, "Oh, somebody is in need of something. Let me help them." And soon you realize that then you have to help their parents, then you have to help their significant other. It's like that man who wanted to grow a beard. He looked at himself in the mirror and said, "Idhar kuch khali khali lag raha hai. It's all so empty here. I need a nice harvest. I need a wonderful growth." And some people are not meant to grow beards, okay? And they shouldn't, yeah. They should just be clean shaven. And how do you know that you are a woman? People can ask, but we have some experience of this. And so some people don't have a nice harvest, and so they don't have they don't have that much hair. But then this man thought, I will still grow a beard, and then when it came out, it looked very sad. And then somebody said, you need to massage it with this particular oil and gel. He said, I'm a big businessman. I don't have the time to do that. Hired a fellow to first make that Ayurvedic gel at home. Peace, ke. You know what is that called? The herbs. What is this action called? Grind, wet grind, dry grind, all these things. And then make a lepanam, make this paste, anointing it. So do that. Just like we do sandalwood paste on the Shivalinga, like that here. And then do that. And that person said, I'm lonely, I'm getting married. Who? The beard caretaker said, the beard doctor, beard Vaidya said, I need to get married, I'm lonely. And then what? And the wife said, I can't come without my parents because they are elderly and they need care. And then soon they had children. The children said, we are lonely, we need a cat. And one of them said, we need a dog. And then the dog and the cat are feeling lonely, even though they chase each other sometimes. Now we want a mouse for the cat, and a ball for the dog. Where does it end? It's the end of this life. That's all. Next life it starts all over again. And so therefore action can only give a headache because it has result of action that you don't like, and then more action to get what you want, more result of action. This is a chakkar, a never ending cycle. And so, therefore, the second portion of the Veda is not action based, it is based on knowledge, which directly tells you as it is. See, if you were not whole, if you were not flawless, then no amount of Vedanta is going to enlighten us. Not at all. But you happen to be whole, limitless, and flawless, so it's a discovery through knowledge. Why? Because I have made a mistake. A mistake can be corrected. So, Vedanta is a correction of a huge and a very important mistake. A mistake made on myself, centered on myself. What is that mistake? I am full of mistakes. That's the mistake. I am full of flaws. This is the mistake. Dude, where did this mistake come from? Anadi, no beginning. Ayyo, it's such an old mistake. Yes. It's the most ancient mistake. Oh, should we call UNESCO and preserve it, because there are certain sites and even non-tangible forms like Vedic chanting is a UNESCO preserved entity. Certain forms of chanting like that, what is that, in South Africa they have this clicking language called Xhosa, like that. Okay, so this clicking language is also, there are very few speakers, and before every word you have to click, and then you shouldn't spend a lot of time. There's no coffee break between the click and the word. You have to quickly say it. And when they talk, it's very beautiful to hear. It's amazing. I have heard this. It's just so lovely. But few and far between are those speakers, and that language is also preserved by UNESCO. So this mistake, should we also preserve it because it is anadi, ancient? Nobody wants to preserve it. Because why? It's mistake. Anyatha jnanam, it's a wrong understanding. And then if it is anadi, is it ananta? Does it not come to an end? Yes, it comes to an end. Thankfully, it is beginningless, but not endless. It comes to an end as soon as, like supposing you are lost somewhere, and then the GPS stands for what? Guru Paduka Stotram? No, I wish. But if that were the GPS, we would not be lost. But GPS, the ordinary GPS, sometimes just doesn't know. Like even from here to this Neelkant, there is a temple. So you put the GPS, it will tell you to go and drown the car in the Ganga. It at least just go there, it will tell. Because so many new roads and all have come, it doesn't know. So if you're lost, what do you have to do? Recalculate. That's what the GPS says in a very polite voice. Recalculating, recalculating, recalculating. This is what the second portion of the Veda does. It recalculates the fact that samsara is not something to be crossed. There's nothing to cross. There is no ocean. It's a notion. And therefore, action is of no use, because the first portion of the Veda is all in karma phala. Here it is jnana phala. The jnana phala is the flawless you. The jnana is also the flawless you. There is a complete non-distinction between the knower and the knowledge. The nature of the knower is the nature of the Brahma Vidya, Brahma Jnanam, and so there is absolutely no difference between the two. So the subject matter is different. In the first and the second portion, the audience is different. And then what else is different? Vishaya, then Adhikari, we have discussed. Prayojana. What is the Prayojana? The end goal of the first portion of the Veda is to keep you glubbing in the ocean of samsara, keep you afloat. The end goal of the last portion of Veda is to deliver you out of samsara. Eject button, bye bye samsara. Oh, does that mean death? Absolutely not. That is not death. That is really true living free. Prayojana is different, and Sambandha is also different. What is the Sambandha between the Vishaya, the subject matter, and the Phala? In the first portion of the Veda, the Sambandha is action based. And then the Sambandha between the book called second portion of Veda, Vedanta, that takes you out of ignorance. The Sambandha is knowledge based. Pratipadaka, Pratipadya, Sambandha. And in so doing, there are these two portions. Both are for one's hitam, and both are for one's growth and one's hitam. And then the Upanishads, there are many in number, many. Don't say there is only 4 Mahavakyas, 4 Upanishads. No, there are many Upanishads. And out of that, 10 are considered primary only because Adi Shankara, which is an important link to this tradition of teaching, has written commentaries on 10 of them. On the 10 Upanishads, he has written a commentaries. So we consider them important to study because he thought it was important for us to study that. And now, out of all the 10 Upanishads, the two big ones are Brihadaranyaka and Chandogya. Brihadaranyaka, as its name suggests, is a huge forest of knowledge. Brihad, big, Aranyaka, forest, huge forest. You can get lost in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Fortunately, that's not the topic for this retreat. And then we also have what is a very big Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad. The two have certain things in common. They include various upasanas. Upasanas means what? Meditations, various disciplines, meditations, forms of meditation. Why? Because the upasanas are the bridge from the first portion to the second portion. They convey as a setu, they are like a conveyor belt, an escalator, a bridge. Because the first portion and the second portion have nothing to do with one another. They are so oppositional, one based on action, one based on ignorance, the other based on knowledge, and the adhikaris are different, the people, the audience is different, subject matter is different. How do you see the connection? The connection is through getting a tranquil mind and having certain inward practices. So the upasanas comprise a major portion of both the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and the Chandogya Upanishad also, with a small difference. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the teaching portion is in the first 3-4 chapters, and then the upasana is in the last chapters. In the Chandogya Upanishad, the first 5 chapters are upasana, and the last 3 chapters are the teaching. 6, 7, and 8 teaching. And the teaching is always in the form of dialogue, because what I have to study and what I have to know, it's not a matter for belief. It is not a matter for belief at all. Like, for example, if the physics teacher said E is equal to mc square, and then what will the student say? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I believe you. Will the teacher be happy? No, because this is not a matter for belief. This is a matter for understanding. And if there is an understanding needing to happen, there will be obfuscation, there will be confusion, there will be questions, there will be all kinds of problems that need to be talked out, that need to be discussed. Because we don't come to the retreats, we don't come to Vedanta with a fresh mind. It's a mind that has been marinating in samsara for what? Life after life after life after life. It has taken on the taste of samsara, because if you leave even something bland, like you marinate the tofu, people do this. Why? Don't ask, okay? But people do this. If you marinate the tofu also in a liquid for some time, even that pretends to get the taste of all this. Even that gets the taste of some whatever it's marinated in. And then similarly, the person, the buddhi, is what? Marinating in samsara. And so for that buddhi to understand I am the truth of everything, I am infinite, etc., needs a big growth process. And then it also not only needs growth process, it will reject anything that is told to it. It will reject. Why will it reject? Because it already comes full. It's full of the marinade. And if you try to marinate that in the Upanishads, it will not take on the taste of the Upanishads, because first you have to leach out the previous marinade and then put a new marinade on that. So the inner forest is crowded with all kinds of trees that one has planted. Trees of doubt, trees of despair, trees of all kinds of things that have become, they have become strongly entrenched, rooted in the heart, rooted in the mind. And so this vidya, without some preparation, will not come. So therefore, upasana. Therefore, discussion is needed, dialogue is needed, a special kind of a fruitful dialogue, the only kind that should be had between the teacher and the taught, called samvada. That's why the stories and the dialogues are the ones that carry this forward. So they are in the form of samvada. Here also we have a dialogue, as was pointed out in Swamiji's class earlier, between Shvetaketu and father turned teacher. So, father turned teacher, whose name is what? Uddalaka. Very beautiful dialogue. And then we will be studying a portion of this dialogue. And now, the thing is this, that every Upanishad, every Veda has its own Shanti mantra. Why? Because does the Veda need Shanti mantra? No. Who needs Shanti mantra? We need Shanti mantra. Why? Because the Ashanta person, the Asamahita person is coming to study. So that person needs to be literally tranquilized by the Shanti mantra. Like a wild animal, sometimes they have to give it a pill or whatever. If they try to give it a pill, they will become the pill and be swallowed by the wild animal. So what do the vets in the wild do? They have tranquilizer dart. So you put the dart and then the animal just goes like that. And then after that, you give it the pill, whatever it needs to, because they have seen it limping in the wild. So these National Geographic, all these kinds of videos come. So this big cat, puma, cheetah, something is there. And it's threatening to make you a big capsule if you go near it. So therefore, you can't go near it and say, excuse me, can you stand still while I give you this injection? It'll make you feel better. No. You have to throw the dart. And then when it lies down on the side and then feels groggy and sleepy, then slowly you approach. And then when its tongue is lolling on one side, you know it's not going to get up and bite. Then you put the medicine or put the pill. Similarly, here, the Ashanti needs to be tranquilized. 3 forms of Ashanti are there. And the first form is something over which we have no control. Like what? Earthquakes, tsunamis, etc. They are called Adhideva. That is the source. Adhidaivika Ashanti. And then thankfully, we don't have to worry about that because we'll be saying the prayer. And then what else do we have? Then we have Adhibhautika Ashanti, which is in the form of what? The Ashanti, the lack of Shanti coming from one's own surroundings. I am here to enjoy this retreat, but why did this idiot have to come? I see them year after year, they don't learn anything. Why are they still coming? And so, what happened to me? Am I studying or am I worrying about them? I'm worrying about them. And so, that is a form of Ashanti. And the third form of Ashanti is centered where? Where? Here. The one who is saying where, that is where it is centered. Here is a warehouse of Ashanti. And what is this warehouse of Ashanti? The warehouse of Ashanti is full of doubts. Doubts about the world, doubts about oneself, doubts about Ishvara, the creator, etc., etc., etc. And that Ashanti is the one, because everything is fine. I like the people around me and no earthquakes to think of, no tsunamis. I should be happily sitting. No, some doubt came. What's the doubt? Did I lock my room? Yeah, enough. Enough for the whole hour to go. And in the orientation, they said, don't keep valuables in the room and lock the room. And I haven't locked the room. OMG. What to do? How to do this? And in the time that you are worrying, should I go? But that looks bad. In the class, once the Shanti mantra is said, we shouldn't be wandering around like homeless people. We should sit down and we should just pay attention. But then if I don't go, then what if something happens? No. I should pay attention. And in this dialogue, inner dialogue, not Upanishadic dialogue, the inner dialogue, what has happened? Tattvamasi has come and gone. So Atma Tattvamasi Shvetaketu has come and then gone. So that's why the Shanti mantra is very, very important. We'll chant it and see the meaning now. ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मा ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. That's not quite the conclusion of the class, okay? So hang in there, yeah. So apyayantu means vriddhim kurvantu, vriddhim prapnuvantu, vriddhim kurvantu, meaning may they grow. What should grow? Mama angani, my limbs, may they grow. Who am I? Mumukshu. Mumukshu means what? Seeker of moksha. Very good. Seeker of moksha. Mumukshu, the moktum ichuhu mumukshuhu. I am the seeker of moksha. This is itself gives a lot of self-esteem. Before, what did I thought? I am Mr. Mistake or Ms. Mistake. Ms. Mistake. Okay. So now what am I? I have rebranded myself after entering into this hall. What am I now? Mumukshu. Yes. Don't confuse with momos and anything. Okay. Yeah. Mumukshu. Yeah. Don't also ask me in the satsang what kind of shoe. Okay. Yeah. Say shoe to all that. Come back here. Mumukshu moktum ichuhu. Mama mumukshoho. For me, who is what? Mumukshu. I am this mumukshu. And then mama mumukshoho angani. Angani means what? Limbs. What kind of limbs? Kara charanadini. Vag iti itara karmendriyanam upalakshanam. So upalakshanam means, so mama angani. Angani includes all kinds of limbs, the organs of action, and these sense organs together are called indriyani, or here angani. All 10 of them, may they grow. Oh, grow means what? The nose grows like Pinocchio. You have heard the story of Pinocchio, this boy. What happened to him? Whenever he told a lie, the nose would grow. Okay, this is something to tell children values. And pretty soon they had to always keep one window open in their house because the nose was going out of the window. Is this the kind of prayer? Abhyayantu vriddhim prapnuvantu. May my nose grow, the ears grow like elephant. They become, like that. No. Grow in maturity. Grow in strength and maturity. That's this will be explained a little more later. Karacharanadini vagiti itara karmendriyanam upalakshanam. So vak mama angani. Vak means all the jnanendriyas and all the karmendriyas. Vak. Okay. Vak, the word vak includes all the 5 organs of action. What are they? Pani, Padav, what else? Upastha, Payu, Bak. Okay. So, hands, legs, karmendriyas, organs of elimination and reproduction, 4, and then speech. This tongue is a twofold indriya. Karmendriya and jnanendriya. We have to be very careful. Yeah, because it is dual, 2 in 1. 2 in 1. And so, vriddhim prapnuvantu, and then vak. And pranaha. Pranaha means what? Pranaha iti apanadinam Upalakshanam. Apana means what? Prana, apana, udana, samana, vyana. 5 kinds of pranas are there. And then all of them, if you mention prana, all the other 4 come along because you put the word adi. Adi means at the beginning. So what is the meaning of pranadi? Prana is at the beginning of which list? Which list? Pancha prana. Don't say hat, coat, umbrella, prana. No, it should be of the same caliber, same jati. List means, okay? Yeah. So then prana is at the start of which list? Pancha prana. And then vak prana chakshushrootram. Chakshushrootramiti itara jnanendriyanam upalakshanam. So chakshushrootram, 2 are mentioned. Why? Because they are pradhana. Pradhanyat. 2 are mentioned. Why are 2 mentioned? Because the other 3 are included. And the 2 are mentioned because what do you need for Vedanta? Shravanam. Shrotram you need. And then this, of course, if you don't know where you are going, how will you sit and listen? So eyes are very, very important. Pratyaksha pramana. And so these 2 are given importance. Chakshushrothramiti jnanendriyanam upalakshanam. Tatha cha mama sarvani indriyani pranapanchakam cha apyayantu. So tatha cha means in the same manner, please, oh Bhagavan, grow all of them together. Balam. So balam is there. The word balam is there. Where should the balam come? Is there the word balam? Apyagantu mamangani. Balam. Indriyani cha sarvani. That balam. Balam here means may they grow in maturity. Balam here is samarthyam, capacity. The capacity of the ears to retain what is heard, to accept what is heard. Otherwise, the knowledge comes and boomerangs back and is safe with the guru. No, to accept what is heard, to retain what is heard. That is important. The receptivity of the organ is important. Otherwise, it will be just like boomerang. You know the boomerang, that curved stone you throw, it comes back to you. And so let the ears not be like that. For the name's sake, they are open, but nothing is going in. And so balam prapnuvantu means may they grow in receptivity. First kind of growth is in receptivity, not like Pinocchio's nose. May they grow in receptivity to receive what is seen, what is heard. And what is receptivity? Trust. May they grow in trust. Because if you hear, yes, I retain what I heard, but I don't agree with any of it. I don't agree that I am free of mistakes. Finished. That's a shortest Vedanta class. If you can't go out with, with that conclusion, it's the shortest class. Nothing more to do, right? And then so may they grow, mama indriyani, may they grow. How should they grow? Brahma adhyayana anukulataya vriddhim prapnuvantu. Brahma adhyayana anukulataya. Anukulataya means may they be cool enough. Anukula. Yes, may they be cool enough to assimilate Brahman. Anukulataya, in keeping with, in the form of. Anukulataya, in keeping with the knowledge. The indriyas also, may they be in that same way open to, as the knowledge is, may they assimilate in the same way. It's a very powerful prayer, extremely powerful prayer. So may they assimilate in the same way what was intended for them. Beautifully may they assimilate. So Brahma anukulataya vriddhim prapnuvantu. Vriddhim means maturity. Because if the ears are immature, they will reject, or they will take it half, or they will take it wrongly. May that not happen. Same thing with the eyes, same thing with the balam, the ability for the organs to sit, and the trust and the receptivity and the maturity to dedicate all the organs of action and all the sense organs for the sake of this knowledge, to direct them towards this knowledge. May I have the maturity. So there is a very interesting transference, like may the organ be mature. Can the organ be mature? No. But this is just a nice way of saying it, so that I am mature. So may my eyes be mature. The eyes are already mature enough to see what is there. That's not the idea. May they all be in the service of Brahma Vidya. Brahma Adhyayana Anukulataya. And what is this? Brahma Adhyayanam, the study of Brahman, means Vedadhyayanam, Vedantadhyayanam, same thing, Brahmadhyayanam, and then Brahma Vishaya Adhyayanam. So we can take it like that also. The Adhyayanam, the study whose subject matter is what? Brahman alone. May Anukula means conducive. May they be conducive for the study of Brahma Vidya. Eyes should be able to see, ears should receive what is there, the mind should stay with the knowledge, at least during the length of the Shravanam. So they should all be healthy. Why should they be healthy? To know what? What is it that is being taught? Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam. Aupanishadam Brahma. Upanishatsu Bhavam Tadhita. So Aupanishadam, Upanishatsu Bhavam, or we can even say Upanishatsu Vedyam, Upanishad Vedyam, that which is only understood by the Upanishad, or that which is born of the Upanishad. What is born of the Upanishad? Brahma Vidya is born of the Upanishad. This is a beautiful noun form. You make one noun from another noun, and then it is a tatra bhavam. It is so tadhita. So there it is occurring there. It is born there. What is born there? The knowledge of myself as free of flaws is born in the Upanishads. Therefore, what should I do to the Upanishads? I should go to the Upanishads. So let my mind be in keeping with that knowledge, in keeping with this, conducive for the study of Brahma Vidya. And then this all, everything. Sarvam means everything, known, unknown, seen, unseen, whatever you hear, whatever you see, whatever you experience is what? Ayo. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So, Sarvam Brahma Eva. Everything is Brahman. And so to know this Brahman, this is the subject matter of the Upanishad. It is Brahma Upanishad Vedyam, by the Upanishad understood alone. By the Upanishad alone it is understood, not through anything else. And then, so everything is Brahman. Does it include me or not? Yes. Somebody said no, please see me after class. So, so everything includes me. We forget that. We say everything, idam sarvam, and then we leave ourselves out, like the famous 10th man story. Exactly like the Dashamaha, we leave out. We leave ourselves out. But no, it starts with me. So Vedanta Mimamsa starts with what? Me. That's why it's called Mimamsa. Okay. And so so then the next one is very interesting. No other Shanti mantra has this. Maham Brahma Nirakuryam. Because everything is Brahman, let me not leave myself out of this equation. Maham Brahma Nirakuryam. Let me not negate, deny Brahman. Let me not have non-acceptance of Brahman, because non-acceptance of Brahman is non-acceptance of myself. It's a rank form of self-denial. Let there be no denial for me from this very important understanding. And so, Maham Brahma Nirakuryam. Let there not be any denial of Brahman. Because why? Because Brahma satta vyatiriktaha na kaschit asti. Nothing is there. Other than Brahman, nothing is there. Whatever is there is because Brahman is there, everything is there. Satta spurti pradhanena, by lending its presence and by lending its sentience, everything is made alive. And so the satta means what? Status of being sat, which has a very important place in this Upanishad, as we will see the word. So this source of existence, this is the truth that has to be understood. How? Through the Upanishad. Sarvam Brahma, Ahamapi Brahma. Brahma asti first. Brahman is. And afterwards what? Brahma asmi. Asmi means what? Me. That's why the first person in Sanskrit ends in me. That's how we know it's the first person. And so Brahma asti first, and then after that Brahma aham asmi. Everything is Brahman. Brahman is not one of the things in the universe, which is a mistake we make. And so many people who would have said, I don't have time for these retreats. Why? Because I have other things to do. That means what? Many things are there. Brahman is one more pursuit. No. Many things are there. And then if Brahman is not there, nothing is there. The only thing that is there is Brahman in many names and forms. So this Brahman, which is Upanishadam, I have to study, I have to know. And I must not negate. Give me the blessing of not negating that. And if that is not bad enough, the next line, what does it say? Mama Brahma Nirakarot. Let Brahman not negate me. Doesn't Brahman have any other work? Why should it negate me? How can Brahman negate me if Brahman is me? This is from the perception. It's a psychological perception. God has abandoned me. Brahman here is Jagat Karanam Brahma. Ishvara has abandoned me. This is a feeling. And that's why we keep singing sad song. Darshan kab doge. Yeah. So instead of satsang, it becomes sad sang. The sad one sang. Sat and sang and went away. Darshan kab doge. Aankh micholi khelo mat tum. Dil ke basi re. Darshan do ghanshyam nath more. Like this. We sing sad songs. Why? Because there is this alienation, the heartfelt alienation, which is a prasada of what? Ignorance and wrong knowledge. So, Mama Brahma Nirakarot. So, let this Ishvara not fall me back into samsara. Let me be open. Let me be open to Brahman. And Ishvara's grace, let it be there. We'll talk more about this grace. Let the Lord, the goddess, never, ever, ever reject me. And then there is no question of Nirakaranam. Let there not be Nirakaranam on any side. Samsare mam na patayantu. Let it not drop me into samsara. It says here somewhere, ya prapnuvantu. Yeah, and then, yeah, Brahma asti nasti va ma nirakuryam. And then, samsare ma patayatu. May it not drop me back in samsara. With great difficulty, I've had a tiny bit of viveka. By accidental viveka I got. And even more accidental vairagya. Anirakaranam astu. Parasparam Preetireva astu. Between me and Ishvara, let there always be a connection of love. Let there not be any misunderstanding. And then a little more is left. We will see in the upcoming class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you.